Right. The first building that was at that site was called the State House because the General Assembly was meeting here in Fayetteville quite often. And in 1789, the United States Constitution was ratified at that State House building. The first public university in the United States, UNC Chapel Hill, was chartered. We ceded our western lands to form the state of Tennessee from there in 1789, and a lot of other things occurred there when it was the State House. Now, the State House would meet, the General Assembly would meet there for the last time in 1793. Thereafter, they would meet in Raleigh, which is the permanent capital of Raleigh. And in 1831, while it was being used as both a market below and government building for local municipal affairs above, it was consumed in the Great Fire of 1831, which burned over 600 structures in the downtown area. From there, they started clearing the rubble at Market Square with the intention of putting another building back similar to the one that was consumed in the fire. So about a year later, in 1832, the market house that now stands was open to the public. It comes to us architecturally much as it was in 1832, not altered, and existed as a marketplace below with town government above from 1832 until they closed the market house at the end of 1906. At that time, they took the market and moved it to Person Street, and the City Hall shifted from the upstairs to a building that was dedicated for city affairs on Gillespie Street. At that time, a group of ladies came together to save the market house. It was saved, and the first adaptive reuse was as a library. So it was the Fayetteville Library, and it remained the Fayetteville Library for a number of years until they built a dedicated building in the early 1950s on Anderson Street. And then it shifted to Hay Street, and eventually the Maiden Lane Library, headquarters library, supplemented by a number of satellite libraries, was instituted. When the library left there, it was adaptively reused as a number of things. It was the Chamber of Commerce for a while. It was the home of the first Fayetteville Art Museum. It housed the Festival of Flight when North Carolina celebrated its centennial of flight. And always belonged to the city of Fayetteville. It served as a place for the Merchant Association. So Old Fayetteville and Fayetteville Partnership existed upstairs, and once those operations ceased to exist, it was given to, I say given to, it's a city asset just like we are, but it was put under our umbrella to house as a historic site. It is a national landmark, and it is the only national landmark in Cumberland County, which is the highest plateau of distinction for a structure. And a structure, in order to be a national landmark, has to have significant value both historically and architecturally. So it is one of just a couple of buildings in this architectural style that survive in the United States. It was adopted from England and Scotland, where similar buildings existed for the purpose of market below with municipal government operating above. So little by little, as city halls became independent of markets and markets became their own thing, those buildings were torn down. Ours comes to us today intact and is designated not only as a national landmark, but is listed on the National Register of Historic Places, and it is also a local landmark.